Hey, this is Dwayne Smith at AthensTennis.com. Welcome back. This is Doubles 104. If you haven't seen the first three videos, 101, 102, 103, please take a look at those. In Doubles 104, we're talking more about some advanced ideas in doubles. We want to talk a little bit today about the doubles window, and we also want to talk about when and how to poach. And I'm going to talk about some of the strategies that the Bryan brothers, famous doubles team, use in deciding when and how to poach. Let's talk about the doubles window first. And when we do that, I'm going to be using some court diagrams to discuss that. And we'll also go on the real tennis court and talk about some of the positions and ideas as well. Let's talk about the diagrams first. Okay, let's first talk about this concept of the doubles window. The doubles window was really an idea of Craig O'Shaughnessy. He's done a lot of work in tennis with statistics and patterns of play and whatnot. And basically what he found out is that about 80 or 90% of the shots in doubles cross the net in what he calls the doubles window. And really it's this center right here. And what he basically is talking about is that you can almost think of the tennis court as being an hourglass when you're playing doubles. Very, very few balls ever get hit into this area. And of course in doubles people are always saying, oh, but I'm going to get passed down the alley. But the chances of that are very, very small. Again, only about maybe 10-15% of the shots ever go that way. Of course, when the ball's wide in the tennis court, then obviously you do need to cover the alley. But that doesn't happen very often. Most of the time the balls are hit from at the center or near the center, which means the ball is going to cross through this doubles window. And you really need to control that window. You really need to be on top of that and sort of anticipate that ball coming in that direction. So don't camp out in the alley worried about getting past unless the ball is way, way out on the sides of the court. Then you need to concern yourself with that. Concern yourself with where the ball really is going to be at 80-90% of the time, which is crossing through this doubles window. And that's why the net person really has to get aggressive up here and try to pick off as many of those balls as possible. Another thing that the Bryan brothers said is that, you know, another one of their, they say, is the secret sauce in doubles is to make sure you're hitting the volley as close to the net as possible. They really want you in the front half of the service box. It's much easier to volley there. The balls are higher up. You have more angles and all that sort of stuff. So that's some of the ideas about the doubles window. Okay, if you look at the setup here, you can see that we have 3 spots on the court, and we also have a diagonal ball moving there as well, showing the diagonal path you take when you poach. Let's go back to the 3 spots to begin with. Here, your normal volleying position would probably be close to the yellow spot. That's kind of where you would set up in the middle of the service box when you're playing doubles. Your partner is probably serving or your partner is hitting a ground stroke, one or the other. And what the Bryan brothers say is that in this location, you always want to be moving. You always want to be intimidating to your opponents and sort of getting in their head. Now, they're going to say you either fake a poach, you pinch, or you poach, depending on the situation. And what determines that? There's 3 things they look for. They call it their, traffic light system. And if they have all 3, it's a green light. If they have 2, it's a yellow light. If they have 1 or none, it's a red light. All 3 would be a ball down the middle, which they call geometry because it's hard to get angle on a ball down the middle. A ball to the weak side, which is usually the backhand. And a ball that either is hit with a lot of pace, hit with a lot of spin, a lot of depth, something like that. If you have all 3 of those, you're going to poach, and that would be moving to the red spot or circle in this diagram. If you have 2 of those, you're going to want to pinch the court. That would be moving to the orange to make it harder to get the ball by you. And if you have none or only 1 of those, you would step to the orange spot, but then step back to the yellow spot, which is basically a fake poach. Make sure you're always moving diagonally towards the court. I've set up the tennis balls here to kind of show that diagonal motion. And the rationale here is you're getting to the ball quicker when you move diagonally instead of parallel to the net. So you're taking the shortest path to the ball. You're also catching the ball higher where it should be an easier volley or easier overhead. And of course, the closer you are to the net, the more you can do with the ball. You have better angles and stuff as you get closer and closer to the net. So make sure you're moving diagonally towards that ball. You can see in this diagram, this would be where ideally that first serve would go. It would go down the tee, down the center. Again, you have all three things in play here. You have geometry. It's a center ball. It'd be harder for them to pass you down the alley. You're making them hit a backhand if they're a right-handed player. Most players are. And again, it's a first serve, so they're on defense to begin with. So this would be an excellent ball to poach on, at the very least, pinch on to make them thread the needle, so to speak. Another opportunity after the serve would be when the ball is hit in this area near the cone. Again, it's deep down the middle. Again, it's probably to the backhand of that player. And again, since the ball is deep with a lot of pace or spin, you have sort of all three things, so you would be in the poach opportunity. So this kind of shows both of the setups. The first cone being where ideally the serve would go. The second back cone near the baseline would be where your partner's ground stroke would have gone. Now the same thing applies to the most part on the ad side as well. These are set up on the do side. Of course, on the ad side, the only problem with going down the middle is you're probably hitting to the forehand of a right-handed player. And so that might not be their weak side. So sometimes if they really do have a weak backhand, it's okay to go out wide. But remember, as you go out wide, you're open up a lot more angles. So your partner at the net would really have to cover the alley, and you'd also have to look for that angled cross-court return. Remember, one of the hardest things about poaching is knowing when to leave, because obviously if you leave too soon, you've given yourself away and your opponent can, hit behind you or down the alley or whatever. So the best time to leave is right as your opponent's racket is moving forward on their stroke. At that point, they really can't change their mind. They're sort of locked into the shot that they're going to hit. So that's the best time to move. Now remember, in this doubles 104, the main thing we talked about was the doubles window. You want to control that middle. That's where almost all the shots are being hit from. You want to be aggressive at the net. You want to be constantly moving. You want to move forward diagonally as you hit those volleys. And you want to poach whenever you can, because your job is to win the points up there at the net. You're in the offensive position, so try to do that. Please check out all the videos at AthensTennis.com or watch them on YouTube. Have a great day. See you next time.